and welcome to Live from Stubbs. We have another episode live from South by Southwest Interactive. We are here in the Gemalto Lounge. We have the pleasure of having two guests and actually our second Michael Schneider of the week, which is pretty impressive.
Actually, your first.
Well,
the other was your first, and only. That's not me.
That's true. I'll get to that in a second. So I'm Aaron Stroud of WCG. We have Kyle Flaherty, my co-host of Breaking Point Systems. We're lucky to have the CEO of Sonar, which is one of the proximity services. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Brett Martin, if I didn't say your name, I'm forgetting names today for some reason. And then Mike Schneider, who's my co-author of Location-Based Marketing for Dummies, and also SVP of Digital Everything at Allen and Gerritsen, correct?
Right, excellent.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys here. So we're going to talk a little bit about sort of mobile technology, South by, and then we'll switch gears to music and barbecue. I'm sure two topics that both of you guys will hate talking about. So we're here at South by. There's a lot being talked about with mobile and location. You know, what are we hearing about? I mean, you and I were lucky enough to do a panel the other day. Have you heard any good, panels, had any good sessions, interviews since then that you've attended?
I'm seeing it on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, people at all, everyone's, all everyone does at South by is talk about where to go, where's the next party, and people are using these proximity social networks to sort of to get in touch with people, to reach out, to engage with people at the parties around the corner and say, hey, is it worth going there? So, you can just see it with your eyes.
Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is proximity social networks?
So, so Sonar, my company, basically, it tells you who's nearby and how you're connected to them. So when you open up Sonar, you always see your closest friends, like wherever your 5, 10, 15 closest friends are you. So at South by, I just open up Sonar and I get an instant listing of where my friends are hanging out right near around me. So I use that to find what the next party I'm going to jump to is. And I can just ping 10 people a message super quickly and then get that information back before even heading out the door.
Right. So, you've been to several South Bys at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Third, fourth?
This is my fourth.
Fourth? Okay. So what are you seeing in terms of changes from that first one, especially around mobile right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing is that, in my mind, location-based services have taken a turn for the creepy, and I think Sonar has it right, because Sonar is looking at for your closest friends first, and they actually do some mining of your social graph, where I've seen other popular sort of mobile apps like Highlight and Banjo that it's just like turning your phone into basically a massage device, because everybody in your social graph is
so that's
is
bad.
I don't like that. Yeah, well, it kills your battery. It gives you a smile.
Oh, that's bad.
That's
It makes you
downside.
smile,
Yeah.
but it kills your battery. And I don't see the point, because if you can mine someone's data, if you can find out who your closest contacts are, or mine a Twitter stream to find out that we actually like each other, or you can look at the Facebook social graph and figure out, who's in your news feed, who's in your news stream, or who's in your path, because path is supposed to be that, very personal social network. You should do that, and you shouldn't just make it so that, there are 8,000 people nearby. Yeah, I know everybody in my social graph is near me right now because I'm at South by Southwest, and I don't need it when I'm driving around, at home either. Like, I'll be driving around and I'll be like, Mike Pascucci's near you, and I was like, that's great. I'm driving, and someone texts me. I shouldn't be looking at it anyway. So it just, that kind of creeps me out. Kudos to you guys for doing it differently.
Oh, well, thanks so much. I mean, we've invested heavily in the technology, right? Because there's tons of data, and if you see the trend on the web right now, it's all about noise, right? It's how do you get the signal out of the noise? And now it's the same thing. I remember when the Starbucks marketing example came out, 5, 6 years ago, right? When you're walking by a Starbucks and they could shoot you a message, and everyone's counter argument was always, oh, well, won't it be a marketing hell when you're walking around and getting pushed? I mean, we're starting to see that at South by, so I think you're going to have to see people really invest in technologies to sort of only surface that really interesting stuff at the right place at the right time.
I have this giant brick charger that will charge my phone 3 times just because I'm trying, all these tools at the same time, so I keep getting notified.
But aren't we getting to a point then, and I see you have one,
Yep.
I don't, because that's just not the way I live my life. Is this aren't we getting to the point where it's just kind of getting ridiculous that we have to have all of these things and all of these apps? What's the value at this point? And so I'm looking at you because you have an app that's out there that's getting a lot of attention. Like, what is the value that someone like me would get?
It's about sharing yourself. It's about broadcasting. So if you look at all of the big social innovations, it's been in making it progressively easier and easier to broadcast yourself, right? So going from email to blog posts to Twitter to check in on Foursquare to repinning in Pinterest, and this is just the next evolution of that in a mobile form where you turn on your app and you can sort of project your identity to people nearby.
So we're continuously trying to eliminate the friction of something. So the internet came along and we reduced the friction of information transfer, and then you've got like technologies like Level Up that are coming along and Dwal that are coming along to reduce the friction of cash flow. This is the friction of finding somebody, right? But that said, I think there's again, it's that how many of these people do we need to be able to find, and how much do we need to reduce that friction? So I mean, like talk about I love to know the value of the reduction of friction. And what you plan to do with it next, because I don't see a heck of a lot of utility. I'm not seeing a lot of utility beyond that. I'm feeling creeped out. I'm feeling like the best use case for like Highlight and Banjo is for an assassin with an expansive social graph.
But Dougie, before you jump in, Brett, I think one of the things that so you and I both done panels on location while we've been down here, and one that I talked about this morning was the fact that people need to remember this is early days, right? So I think there's a lot of experimentation. You remember, you're probably too young for this, but we all remember the early days of digital and how many bad, useless websites there were out there, right?
Still are.
As people are trying to, that's true, fair point. But there were some of these bad, useless websites that were getting literally hundreds of millions of dollars of investment by venture companies.
Well, bad, useless companies.
And companies, right? Built on really not business models.
Right.
So I think the thing we have to think about is that there are some experiments that we need to do, and I think that's one of the things that's why I want to get Brett on the show, is because of the fact that I love that even though it may not be a sustainable business model long term, like he may be saying, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I want to get bought by Google or Facebook or whomever, because of the fact that I know I'm going to become a feature embedded in there. So I think that's one of the things we have to be patient with, and people like you and me that have spent a lot of time writing books and talking about it probably get more impatient than normal citizens, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, all the big new technologies, Clayton Christensen, he wrote Innovator's Dilemma, right? He talked about the next technology, it looks like a toy, right? And so, people thought Twitter was stupid, people thought Facebook was stupid, people thought Foursquare was stupid, and, all of those are turning into expansive.
I'm looking directly at you.
That's not true. That is not true. And that's not true, because the fact is, I was doing those things. I think what my main concern is the privacy angle in a lot of cases, right? But also the noise angle. And it sounds like what you guys are doing in terms of the algorithm is kind of filtering more than it is, adding to that.
And there's also
that I think is that's an important distinction that I'm hearing so far.
There's a piece of this that's also interesting, which is that you mentioned a reverse pyramid there. You said 750 million people, 150 million people, 15 million people not. There's like 700. I've heard 75,000 active Foursquare users in a given day, and then this other stuff, this new location. I think this new location basis. It feels like a reverse pyramid that you're mentioning there, not something like this is something that the 750 million people on Facebook are going to find useful.
Although Pinterest might break that pyramid, but that said, I don't know. I think that you're going to start to see, it's really what gets built on top of this sort of proximity social graph, right? All of a sudden, I cannot wait until I take a picture at a wedding and I don't have to stand in line and take 8 people's cameras and take 8 pictures, even though we have email, right? We shouldn't have this problem in the first place. But yet, when you can share that picture instantly with the people in the room with you, even though they're not members of your explicit social graph on Facebook. So Facebook fails at that use case, right? Or you're in a meeting, and you're trying to get files to everyone in the office, and you gotta get everyone's cards and get their business cards, right? No, what if you can just press a button and share your Dropbox with the 5 people in the meeting, right? So there's all these sort of ephemeral.
There's a technology called Kibits that lets you do that now.
Kibits?
Yeah. Kibits.
Exactly. So proximity.
But I think what you're getting at is solving real world problems,
Right.
And that's part of it. But again, I'll go back to it requires experimentation to get there and figure out, let me push the envelope, and Zuckerberg has done this time and time again, and then I'll reel it back a little bit, let me push it, and pioneers like you are doing that kind of thing.
Well, that's product development. I mean, get it out there, make sure people, and you're taking that feedback from folks. And actually that brings me to another question of how do you take that feedback in terms of, collecting it and then actually putting that into kind of your product roadmap?
I mean, constantly, right? I mean, that's that is our product development. Half of our product development and our customer service are one and the same. So I mean, I respond to a lot, a lot of the feedback emails, and it's so early, right? Because we can sort of turn on a dime and change the product tomorrow based on the feedback that we got this week. One interesting thing I'm seeing is the push notification is actually the new UX. So if you think about your mobile application, the actual UX experience of your app is in the push notification tray now.
Right.
Because maybe you don't want to pull up your phone and while you're at the party, so you get a bunch of buzzes in your pocket, and then you open up your phone, and then you actually never even go into the app. You just scroll through the push notification tray. So that's a new thing
now.
Well, speaking of, we're going to make a very brusque left turn, right turn. We're going to go to barbecue and music, because I have a funny feeling that
Right turn.
we could all probably talk for a day about this stuff. But we need to be respectful of everyone's time here. So we're in sort of the heart of barbecue, right? The heart of live music. Have you eaten barbecue here? If you have, where's your favorite?
I've been running back and forth from food trucks, unfortunately. So I wish I could have gotten more barbecue, but my girlfriend drove, 90 miles outside of Austin to some place where they just get barbecue on Saturdays from
Probably
8 to
White's.
10.
Or
Yeah.
Snows, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I ate that about 3 in the morning after I got home last night, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
So that's my pick.
It would have been delicious in spite of the 3 in the
Right,
morning.
I know.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, actually.
Michael?
That's really good.
I have 3 favorite barbecue places in Austin. One is, of course, Stubbs. Stubbs is amazing. Their beer selection is also very good. Great locals.
Yep.
Which drink local, my motto as a beer snob. Second is Franklin Barbecue. Unbelievable. Open for like 20 minutes a day, right?
Which you missed out on the other night. We had
I
our big
know,
party there the
but
other
Scott
day.
Henderson
Yeah.
brought me some, so I was like into that. And of course, Salt Lake. The sausage makes me want to cry there. So like Stubbs, I love the brisket. Franklin Barbecue, I
Twice
love
that
the
someone's
everything.
brought up the
The
sausage
at Salt Lake is
Yep.
epic.
It is actually pretty good, I have to admit.
Not a big sausage fan.
Yeah.
I'm
Unbelievable.
a brisket guy overall.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah. So the other part of kind of Austin and the environment and stuff like that is music. And I don't think you're staying for music, but you were looking through some of the guys that are and gals that are rolling through over the next week. Some that if you were here, who are kind of non-miss folks?
I'd seek out the Big Pink and Of Montreal. I mean, here's the thing. It's like any indie band that I haven't heard a lot about. I think it's the kind of thing where you've got to. This is an opportunity for you to expand your musical palette, if you will. It's not like the big problem with Pandora and Spotify and those kind of things is even with and I love Echo Nest and I love Pandora and I use those to discover new music. Is that you just become a lot more like you. Try something different. Just go into like if you go see a new Latin indie band or a French rap artist or something like that, and just and see if you can come up with something that's going to take you to that next level.
What was the other day at one of our first podcasts? It was swing.
Techno swing.
Techno swing.
Yeah,
which I
he was
never
really
heard
into
of
techno
before,
swing. Yeah.
How about you, Brett? You look like you're a hipster and probably know some cool bands that people should be checking out.
My jeans are too tight? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Just perfect.
I'm
I think he meant you look cooler than us.
That was a fairly low bar. Just
Yeah.
You meet me as a compliment.
I'll take
there
it.
somewhere.
You are cooler.
I'm actually kind of getting into this dubstep thing. I first time I heard it, I was like, oh, that sounds like crap. And then now I guess it's growing on
So
me.
is it Skrillex or is it other?
I don't even know what they're
artists?
called, but I find myself listening. Like it sounds like all the electronics are blowing up.
It
in whatever
unleashes your
venue
inner
I'm
robot,
in.
right? Yeah.
Now, how are you finding music? Is it the Spotify's, the Pandoras, those folks, or?
My friends and I have a Dropbox with a Google group, and every time someone gets new music, they just throw it in the Dropbox and then they email the Google group.
All right, that's a first. We have not heard that, but that is really cool. I like
Indie Rock
that.
Cafe is another great
I like
place.
that.
I
Indie
love,
Rock
I love
Cafe?
Indie Rock
Cafe?
Cafe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Cool. Well, we're about at time, so I want to thank you guys for spending time with
That's
us, and
Thank you, sir.
nice serendipity to have my co-author and a big brain in the industry. So, Brett Martin, you're at Brett1211 on Twitter, right?
You got it.
CEO of Sonar. Mike Schneider, my co-author of Location-Based Marketing for Dummies, as well as
That's my name.
SVP, Schneider Mike.
That's right.
We couldn't get through without saying one, at least at Schneider Mike. SVP at Alan Gerritsen. My co-host Kyle Flaherty, Breaking Point Systems, Aaron Strout, We appreciate you listening in live from Stubbs, live at South by Southwest, and we're out.